Good morning, Arizona and the rest of the world. Here we are in Maricopa County, Chandler to be specific. Anyway, I'd like to remind everyone that these t-shirts are for sale, not by me, but by someone else, and she is donating a significant portion of the proceeds to the Maricopa County audit. So please visit www.powerofthememe.com. And here, I had one on yesterday, and now this one today. May Arizona be the first domino to fall. So you can get a t-shirt to match the plaque. Kind of exciting. All right, anyway, let's get on to business. What is happening? So the first thing I'd like to share with you this morning, it was an email. I believe I received it yesterday, 15 hours ago. Yeah, so I received it yesterday. And this is from the Arizona Free Enterprise Club. And I want to share this. So let me share my screen. Okay. So Arizona Free Enterprise Club, because policy matters. Now, I know that this is an organization, they want to make sure that we don't get taxed to death and that we don't create new taxes. So, I mean, that's what their primary purpose is, but they are actually doing some work on election integrity. So they report on the woman charged with voter fraud. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this or review this with you. The woman charged with voter fraud shows why we need election integrity. They said that it didn't happen, it couldn't happen, and that anyone who ever dared to mention fraud in reference to the past election was a conspiracy theorist propagating the big lie. They began asserting and endlessly repeating that this was the safest and most secure election in U.S. history, ironically implying that the past elections were not safe and secure. And they produced no objective measure as to why the claim is valid and not simply rhetoric regurgitated to stifle free discussion and common sense reforms. What's the saying? The difference between conspiracy theory and truth is about 6 to 12 months. Just as the conspiracy theory about the origins of COVID, which was censored by big tech and suppressed by corporate media, has now become accepted as likely true. A grand jury just indicted an Arizona voter of fraud. It happened like this. A Scottsdale woman cast not just her own ballot by mail, but also forged her mother's signature on an early ballot affidavit just days after she had passed away. Her mother had passed on October 5th, but ballots in Maricopa County weren't even mailed to voters until October 7th. And how was this caught? Were there any inherent safeguards in the system to prevent this or to find it once it occurred? No, it took a group of private citizens who looked through voter rolls and submitted to the Attorney General's office a list of approximately 450 names the group alleged were likely deceased but cast a ballot. After review, the Attorney General's office said the list contained names of some individuals who were still alive and some who were deceased but passed away after voting, some who were deceased and did not vote but still received a ballot by mail, and of course this individual, a ballot cast and a ballot counted from someone who died before the ballot was even sent. An illegal vote cast and counted deprives all legal voters of their full voting rights. It gives one voter twice the voice of another. One person, one vote. That's the foundation of a democracy. And unfortunately, once a ballot by mail is accepted into the system, it cannot be uncast or uncounted. It remains and forever will remain in the official tally. With voting by mail, once an election official subjectively determines within seconds that a signature on a ballot affidavit matches what is on the voter file, the ballot is removed and separated from the envelope forever. There is nothing to connect the ballot to the envelope, and that ballot is baked into the system. This is why upfront security measures are necessary. It's why, despite the misinformation from Democrats, the media, and the woke corporations labeling them as Jim Crow 2.0, conservatives pushed so hard this session for a host of election integrity bills. It's why conservatives passed HB 2054 to ensure deceased individuals are regularly removed from voter rolls. It's why conservatives passed SB 1485 to ensure the active early voter list is regularly maintained to be clean and current. It's why they tried to pass SB 1713 to require real voter identification on mail-in ballots, among many other reforms. Why is this just one case that has been proven? It came from a list of only 450 voters, and it came from the work of private individuals, not government or any integrated safeguard. And with this indictment also comes an admission from the Attorney General's office that some of these individuals are deceased and received a ballot by mail. How many other undiscovered cases exist? This shouldn't come to a surprise as anyone. We have evidence from a sitting congressman whose mother passed away 10 years ago, but her ballot was still mailed in 2020. And nearly every voter has anecdotal evidence of either themselves or someone they know who moved into a new house and received ballots from the previous owners or tenants. It happens and everyone knows it. At best, most individuals are law-abiding citizens and simply discard the ballot. But it still presents opportunity for fraud. That's why these common sense reforms are crucial. And it's why future reforms, especially a continued push for universal voter ID requirements, are necessary. Okay, so once again, this is coming from Arizona Free Enterprise Club. All right, now here is my 2 cents. Okay, the vast majority of fraud is not occurring in this way. And the bills that are mentioned in this, okay, so they clearly didn't even check her signature, and now we're supposed to check interior identification on the mail-in ballots, which would be things like your date of birth and your driver's license number. So if they're not even checking signatures the way they should be, what makes you think that they're going to check the driver's license number and the date of birth? How about this? And I'm told no. So if this woman died on October 5th, right? Would she have been able to show up and vote in person on November 3rd? I'm telling you right now, the mail-in ballot is the way that the fraud has been occurring for years and years and years, decades and decades. We just had a visit from Tim Griffin of the Amistad Project. He knows this. He went back and started explaining to me what happened during the Johnson era. Now, it wasn't that they had mail-in ballots, but here's the deal. Okay, so just think about this. Why does every state suddenly have more ballots after, like, oh, we found another pallet of ballots after November 3rd? This type of crap is not going to happen if you can convince your neighbor, or maybe it's you yourself, who, oh, I got to vote mail-in. If I don't vote mail-in, then I'm not going to vote. Well, guess what, folks? If you're going to insist on that mail-in ballot, you may as well say, gee, my vote gets canceled by one of these phantom voters or one of these fraudulent ballots. And again, I'm going to reiterate, the majority of cases are not someone doing something. I mean, this woman clearly did something very bad. She committed fraud. There's no question about it. But they're going to use her as the poster child instead of going after the real crimes. Now, we have asked for things from the Maricopa County Recorder. They told us that certain fields were not available. We said, well, we've gotten them from you before. And then what happens? They send it off to the county recorder. And now it's been 4 months, and it's 3 months, 4 months. I don't know. It's been a long time, and it's silence. They are not going after the real crimes. I'm just letting you know that. And it shouldn't, I mean, the private citizens are investigating, yes. I don't know if I want to admit it, but I know who handed that over to the Attorney General. It wasn't me. I know I spearheaded the project, but I let someone else bring the information to the Attorney General because she had her team of people working on it as well. So she went and brought it over. But the intent was to find the bigger issues or figure out why the bigger things were happening. And an example is, okay, so there are hundreds of people who died who received the mail-in ballot. I'm very confident of that. Hundreds. Now, whether or not they returned them is a different story. But once again, the mail-in ballot, you can't receive back more than what you send out. So across the country, not just in Arizona, one of the strategies is to make sure that every state, every county, every precinct, every legislature, that more mail-in ballots get sent out, so that if any get inserted into the system, not legally, there's justification. And if anyone wants to challenge me on that, go right ahead, because our canvassing efforts since December, we can show you tons of ballots that were returned by people who are either non-existent, the address doesn't exist, maybe they're dead. Again, dead voters, I moved away from that like back in December. That's not the focus. The focus is, why are these people voting? And then you find out, again, it's vacant land. Why do we get 6 votes off of vacant land? All right, so let me move on to the next news story, which is the Gateway Pundit. So we talked about this quite a bit, and this is Sonny Borelli. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to go straight and play the video with Sonny Borelli and Jordan Conradson from the Gateway Pundit. All right, let's just go straight to the video. Okay.
How's it going? This is Jordan Conradson with the Gateway Pundit. I'm here with Arizona State Senator Sonny Borelli. He just unleashed the Kraken, releasing Senate Bill 1487 that was introduced by Congressman Andy Biggs when he was in the Arizona legislature. And this gives him the authority to initiate an investigation by the Attorney General's office into a possible crime by a county, state, or county, city, or a town. And Maricopa County has committed a crime with their violation of the subpoenas. So, Senator Borelli, what happens next?
Well, obviously the Attorney General will put an investigation and determine if the county is in violation of the law. I mean, the county supervisors went into executive session and, consciously made a decision to not comply with the Senate subpoenas and to withhold certain information that they're supposed to also have records of, the hardware tokens and the passwords, because that's what you need to run an election. Obviously, if they don't have those items, then by their own admission or omission, that they did not run the election. It was actually a third-party vendor ran the election.
Right. That's right. So can you tell us what Attorney General Brnovich has to do next with respect to this law?
If they examine it and they realize, he's already basically, friend of the court, amicus brief, when the county sued us and tried to, sue us and force us into court over the subpoena issue in the first place. I wrote to the court and said that in his opinion, our subpoena is legal and enforceable. The judge concurred, told the county that our subpoenas are legal and enforceable, and advised them they should comply. And the judge never ordered them to comply. He made the ruling because that was the question before the court. Are our subpoenas legal and enforceable? And the answer is yes. Of course, the judge said, I suggest you guys comply. And they started to comply, but they've only done half measures compliance. And they're still defying us and refusing to give us access to routers, passwords, and hardware tokens. Because we have a right to examine those machines to make sure that they're not corrupted. There's no unauthorized software on it. It's not hooked to the internet, this kind of stuff. And they're refusing to comply. And, that's a violation of the subpoena. That's a Class 2 misdemeanor. So the Attorney General will make a decision. And if they are not in compliance with the law, you will be told they have 30 days to fix that remedy. Or he will advise because the law states that he can direct the state treasurer to withhold 10% of their state shared revenue until they do comply. Of course, if they choose to challenge that in court, it goes directly to the Supreme Court, bypassing all the lower points. So that's another thing that's could happen. But if they don't comply, and they can also be, I believe, they can be charged with a Class 2 misdemeanor. Because it is their actions. They made a conscious decision to defy the subpoenas, and I'm sure their lawyers told them it's a Class 2 misdemeanor, and they should comply. And I hope they do comply, because what we want to do is get to this, find out if the machines are, let's prove it or disprove it, they're hooked to the internet. Sorry, we just can't take their word for it, because they've misinformed everybody for a long time. So I wouldn't take their word at face value anymore. When they say that, the routers have law enforcement sensitive data on there, and that's not true, because there's no data on a router other than a timestamp of MAC address and IP addresses, just like your phone bill, and of course, then they said that they'll have to replace them if we damage them. So they already boxed them up. They said they boxed up the routers to deliver it to us, and they said if we damage them, it would cost them $6 million to replace them. Well, they had already boxed them up, disconnected everything, and replaced the routers. So once again, you catch them in two lies already. So right. We have a right to examine it to make sure that they're not hooked to the internet. Because if it is hooked to the internet, we got bigger problems here, folks. And this is a national security issue, because the allegations that votes were switched in cyberspace. We want to make sure that it didn't happen. The county already came out and said that their election department got hacked, and they only got voter registration information, which, once again, we need to confirm and verify that they did not have access to Dominion equipment, which has been testified before Congress. These machines can be hacked, and they are vulnerable to the internet. That comes right out of the movie Kill Chain, which is coming out of Democrat congressmen. So these are the things that we need to look at and verify. And if it wasn't, great. Then we can say, hey, guess what? We looked. There was nothing nefarious. Everything is legal. And Jake, hey, folks, everybody relax. Nothing got hacked. Nothing got switched in cyberspace. That restores confidence in the election. But to defy the Senate subpoenas and literally take the posture of Jack Sellers is really uncalled for and unprofessional. President Fan has been very diplomatic, very professional through this whole process. And for them to take that type of stance and arrogance, it's not just defying the Senate, not defying the Senate and the state legislature, but defying the voters. Because the voters have a right to scrutinize their elections. They have a right to scrutinize how they are being governed in the first place. That's part of the First Amendment. They're also entitled to free and fair elections. It's enshrined in the Constitution, and equal protection under the law under the 14th Amendment. So for them to defy us, or defying the voters, is showing arrogance and disrespect, disrespectful, and to diminish they have that right to scrutinize is really appalling, and it's uncalled for. Simple as that. They should honor their oath of office, like all of us are trying to honor our oath of office. So it is what it is, and we'll go from there. We'll see what the Attorney General does.
That's right. Jack Sellers mocking volunteers who are trying to save our elections. This was your response to that. So do you expect Attorney General Brnovich to respond to your statement?
Yes, I do. His staff, I know they got a heads up that it was coming. So we'll see how long it takes. It should be a no-brainer for them to examine the law. It's pretty cut and dry. Violation of the Senate subpoenas, a Class 2 misdemeanor, and just to what extent he wants to go and how quickly he wants to move, we don't know. So we'll find out hopefully in the next couple of days. The decision that the county made, they did this in executive session, and they came out in front of the board, and they voted on defying our subpoenas. So it is a no-brainer, and it's nothing done in secret. They've done everything out in public. They've publicly said that they're not going to comply with the subpoenas before the deadline. So obviously they have some type of malice intent, because we don't have a malice intent. We just want to make sure that that the proper procedures are followed in accordance with the law. And obviously some of the things that we're finding are questionable, and we ask them to come to the table and help us explain that. But to say that the people doing the audit have no experience or credibility is really a stretch. And calling our process a fraud is another mind-boggling statement, because the so-called audit they did was not an audit. Case in point, the Election Assistance Commission does not certify companies to certify to do audits. Right? They're only there to certify companies, to certify equipment that the equipment is operating properly at the time of inspection. So the two companies that they hired to do their so-called audit, which was not an audit, was the same people that certified the equipment post-election. So that's a fox watching the henhouse. So if anybody's actually perpetrated a fraud, it's the county themselves. So everything they say is has to be questioned, because it's not truthful. Simple as that. And just to the disdain that they're showing towards the voter of Arizona, and particularly their own county, to say that all the volunteers that were there counting ballots and counting bubbles on the ballots, that they're somehow their integrity is in question, is really amazing. That the amount of disrespect and arrogance that they're showing towards their own constituents, and the elitism is just completely off the charts. And the pushback from the Democrats is even more amazing, because the hypocrisy is all over the place on that one, because under page 56 of the Democrat Party platform clearly states that they're in favor of post-election audits.
That's right.
It's just amazing where we are, and we're even having to deal with this. This is a government function. Okay? Government does audits on other government and inspections on other government agencies. It just so happens that we're doing this on the election process, which we are entitled to, because we give them the authority to run the election. The overall responsibility falls on the state Senate. So for us to be doing an audit on this shouldn't be this big nefarious, crazy thing with this big pushback and all this big battle and vitriol that's going on. It's just amazing how where we are on this, because it's just, they're the ones that are causing a divide. They're the ones that actually are actually perpetrated a fraud and perpetuated by the local media, because the local media is not fair. They're not doing it. They never do a fair interview. I'm grateful to come on with you, because you'll do a full interview. You won't chop it up after 5 minutes of airing, and then you take a 5-second sound bite and spin it in a different direction. So I'm very, very grateful that you're being an honest reporter. You don't pull punches, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, and what you said, it really seems like they're just projecting when they call this a fraud. But do you think that the county will respond to what happened today?
I hope they do. I hope I hope they just comply. We just want to be able to get this done, so we can finish the.
Right.
This is one of the puzzles that we need to look at. We need to check the machines, because after all, they just bought new machines. So the Secretary of State just decertified this equipment, so therefore they should have nothing to worry about. It's decertified. Let's take a look at it. You can't break it. It's been decertified. Right. It's just amazing. Everything they say, just keep giving them rope, and they just keep hanging themselves. Like they say, when your enemy's committing suicide, leave them alone. But we hope that they comply. We don't want to throw people in jail. Look, to the county, if this is hooked to the internet, okay, if they knew something beforehand, that's a crime. They should be held accountable. But if they didn't, and they're just, trying to cover their butts, they didn't know about this, and they're just trying to do damage control, then let's come to the table, let's talk. But they're not doing that. They're digging in, and they're acting. The cover up is almost worse than the crime.
That's right. That's right. And I think whether you're on the right or the left, that's all we want. We want this to be over, and it would be over were it not for the county's noncompliance. We would be finished with the full forensic audit. The final report would be out. We would know the truth. So
this would have been over months ago, because we wanted to do this inspection at the county facility under the same environment where they did their election and they did their recertification of these machines. We wanted to do everything there under the same environment, pristine, and
with the county
integrity. We could have been in and out of there within a week on the technical stuff, and then we could have brought out each pallet at a time and done it that way. But no, they chose to push it off-site, which cost more money, because we had to secure the Coliseum. We had to hire a boatload of security, You had to get all these cameras, all the tables, everything on this. They caused more money to be spent. So they're the ones that caused this. And obviously, I think their motive was to move it away from the crime scene, if you will. And so that's right. Their actions are very telling.
That's
They're actually
right.
speaking louder than words.
That's right. So once we get these routers, passwords, Splunk logs, key fobs, everything that the county has been fighting to the death to hide from us, when do you expect that we'll see a final report come out?
Well, I think it all depends because there's, it takes about 3-4 days for them to go through all those machines and do their technical analysis and that kind of stuff. That takes a week or two. But we still, there's other items that Senate President Fan requested in the FOIA request. We want the ballot envelopes. We want to make sure they want to do signature verification, all of that stuff, because there were allegations that they relaxed the signature requirements on these ballots. If they relax it down to 0, that's against the law. And that's very concerning, which means you've got ghost ballots, which proves all the other allegations that there's ghost ballots, fraudulent ballots, because they're not signed by the intended voter. We already know there's been people prosecuted for voting in somebody else's ballot. Attorney General is already prosecuted on that. He's prosecuted on ballot harvesting. We know that we still need to do the canvassing part. I heard that up in Apache County, in the town of Window Rock, there were like 25 people that are registered to vote at a Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's not a residence. You're not supposed to live in a restaurant. So, these are things that need to be looked at. These are things that we need to fix prospectively. You can't do that. We have to fix the law so you can't do that. I mean, the law pretty says you're supposed to have your residence. So, but how do you justify 20, 30 people registered to vote to register to vote at the corner of Walk and Don't Walk? It's a vacant lot. There's no mailbox. But yet they voted. How they voted by mail. So how does that work? These are the things that we got to look at. I mean,
that's right.
We already know that there was almost 4,000 voters that registered to vote after the deadline, but voted in the November election. Okay, that's kind of like that's illegal ballots. Even though it's 4,000, we don't know which way they voted, but it happened. How do you scrub the voter rolls in December? 18,000 voters in December after they voted in November. Why would you scrub them from the voter rolls? These are questions that you need to answer. And the way I see it, you're not supposed to do erase or delete any kind of data for 24 months. Everything's supposed to be preserved. They already started off right off the bat violating statute as soon as the canvassing was done. Everything was supposed to be turned over to the county treasurer. They didn't turn it over to the outgoing county treasurer, and they didn't turn it over to the incoming county treasurer. Because their excuse was, well, there's ongoing litigation. Well, that's the reason why you send it over to the county treasurer in the first place, to put under secure lock and key, to preserve that possible evidence for litigation or a recount. Is to preserve the evidence, to preserve the ballots. So, but the media wants to spin things in a different way. The left-wing media, they're not fair. They're not truthful. They obviously they're not reporters anymore. They're just flat out opinion pieces.
That's right. Well, we need to get to the bottom of this. And President Trump told us we need those routers, and Senator Sonny Borelli delivered. So thank you, Senator Borelli.
Well, I haven't delivered yet. I mean, and I don't like the Kraken thing. I think it's
Kraken's a little too
Marine,
much.
I'm like, it's like
send in the Marines, right?
When diplomacy breaks down, they send in the Marines, right? Thank you.
Right.
But instead of the Kraken, I just like to say fire for effect.
All right. Thank you, Senator Borelli.
Thank you. Prove your net, hire a vet.
How's it going? This is Jordan.
Okay, so that was the Gateway Pundit article with Sonny Borelli. There is another Gateway Pundit article that is equally as exciting, if not more exciting. Well, let me tell you what it is. Okay, so yesterday we all saw the video where a Dominion employee is basically a whistleblower. Well, here we have something else, and people put something in the chat about this because people are excited about it. And what this article is, again, credit to Gateway Pundit, and this was written by Jim Hoff. Code Monkey Z speaks with Gateway Pundit. What I put out on Dominion evidence is roughly 1% of what we are holding. Ron Watkins, Code Monkey Z, released several photos on Monday, leaked to him from an alleged Dominion voting systems employee and whistleblower. The documents prove that Dominion has remote access to their equipment during the elections. This is a huge development. Here is a page from the Dominion playbook on RAID and BIOS settings. I think it's RAID, is it? All right, trending. All right. Code Monkey Z speaks with Gateway Pundit. Okay, so then here's the information, the instructions. According to Code Monkey Z, our whistleblower is not from Arizona. Our whistleblower is from one of the many other states that use Dominion software. Our whistleblower went to excruciating effort to detail and archive everything possible. Our whistleblower was trusted enough to be given instructions on how to modify the BIOS. Here's another document from the Dominion whistleblower, and this is how to configure the administration password. Here is something changing Windows passwords. On Tuesday, Code Monkey Z published a video that proves Dominion CEO John Polis lied under oath about remote access. This is an explosive development. Via Code Monkey Z, the whistleblower reached out with footage filmed of the Dominion election management system inside an election center in one of the states that use Dominion software and hardware, not Arizona. As you will see in the video, the whistleblower initially discusses with a Dominion employee about who holds the BIOS password, and it is discovered that the state is keeping the password, not Dominion and not the county. Later, the whistleblower asked the Dominion employee about connectivity and whether or not the machines can be connected to the internet. With just 1 minute, 17 seconds, we expose their most egregious lie.
Voting systems are, by design, meant to be used as closed systems that are not networked, meaning they are not connected to the internet. There is no internet connectivity at all. They are not designed to be connected to the outside world through either an internet connection or any other external connectivity device.
Do we have these passwords in the system?
Not the BIOS passwords.
What's not? The state won't let us have our own password?
Not the BIOS passwords.
Does Dominion have any way to remotely access any of the information on any of the equipment or have remote access within the machines themselves?
No.
Does anybody have access to the best of your knowledge?
No.
You're connected to the internet.
Right.
You log in and say, well, this one has wireless,
Right.
but the devices are
Or grayed out.
checked.
Oh, I see.
So disabled.
Okay. So, but you'd be able to go in and do that though, right? By unlocking it and putting the password in?
All right, so there we have the Dominion whistleblower, admin, password, remote access. Okay, so again, this is only 1% of what Ron Watkins plans on putting out. The Gateway Pundit spoke with Ron Watkins, aka Code Monkey Z, on Wednesday morning. Here's what Ron told us. Ron Watkins told us the Dominion whistleblower reached out to him directly. He or she was working inside the election tabulation room in one of the big counties. Ron did not want to disclose the state where this took place. Ron told us the video I put out was 1 minute, 13 seconds, and I've got approximately 30 minutes of video total. There's a lot of documents and there's a lot of secret stuff I'm holding back on for now. And what you've seen is not the whole thing. We asked Ron how he confirmed that the documents were real. Ron Watkins responded, the video is absolutely where it claims to be from. The screenshots that I posted in the video are highly cropped. The rest of the footage is obviously inside the Dominion server room. You can see all different people and their names. The reason I cropped it out is once one of those people are known, they know which tabulation center that is then our whistleblower is in danger. All right, so that makes total sense. I don't know if the whistleblower is still working there or what's going on. The Gateway Pundit, you did confirm that the person did work at Dominion. Ron Watkins confirmed, yes. Then Ron dropped this bomb. Ron Watkins, and what I put out is maybe 1% is conservative, maybe 1% of 1%. What I put out is highly focused because it caught the CEO of Dominion in perjury. He said there's no way these machines can be connected in his Michigan testimony. Well, they can be. Technically, they can be connected by the administration BIOS. More on the USB option. Ron Watkins, something else that concerned me, the fact that the USBs are enabled on the server and the checkbox for the USB boot is enabled also. That means if you put an operating system on a USB and then you plug into the machine and turn it on, it's possible to boot the operating system from the USB and not use the one from the hard drive. So technically, you can have two operating systems on one system. Ron told us he is concerned about his safety. Ron has more coming out. He reiterated that he has released only 1% of the content he's holding. Ron was gracious with his time. God protect him. We wrote Dominion voting systems for comment and will update when they respond to our request for a statement. All right, so for those of you who are following Arizona closely, I think it's pretty safe to say Dominion's not going to respond. Dominion told, they blew off the Senate on Monday, August 2nd at 1 p.m. So I don't know. Let's see if I'll think positively. Maybe the Gateway Pundit will get a response from Dominion, but I'm not holding my breath, that's for sure. So I just want to let you know, there's a ton of articles on the Gateway Pundit. A lot of them are not related to election integrity. They're just related to things that are happening around the world. And it's pretty interesting. But someone sent me a video not related to election integrity, but it's related to what they're doing with technology right now. And again, I didn't verify this video, whatever. I didn't verify it, but if this video is true, it is a little bit alarming. I mean, I posted it on my Facebook. It's pretty interesting.
University researchers
all right, so let me enlarge
creating a computer program that can be linked up to security cameras. It identifies
Okay, so I'm going to get this
human shapes, monitoring. Griffith University.
Okay, I got to start playing it. So this type of stuff seems to happen at the university level. And I want all of you to just pay attention to that, because I'm going to say it one more time. This type of stuff seems to happen at our university level. Now, realize that when you become a professor at a university, I'm sure many of you know this, many of you may not. And the reason I know so much about it is because when I was in graduate school, I had a roommate, and she did an extraordinary amount of work for one of her professors. And the understanding was that she was going to go on this published paper with her professor. And here's something I'm going to let you know about. I don't know if you know about this. And what she found during the process, she was extremely bright girl. And so she works really hard on putting together this paper with the professor. And the whole reason professors have to publish, there's multiple reasons. One is they want tenure, and they're expected to publish, but a lot of grant money comes in from what they publish. So I don't even remember the topic. It was like an MBA business finance type topic. And I remember I watched her. She did all of this research and all of this work. And at the end of the day, guess what happened? The professor said, I don't want to include your work, although the professor did. and she basically struck my roommate's name from the publication. So there's an appeal process for students. And what do you think? Who do you think sits on these decision-making bodies? It's all the professor's friends. So she was like, I remember she was mortified that she had done all this work and the professor just had decided to eliminate her, because as a graduate student, you know, being published with a professor, that's a big deal. And once again, I serve as witness to how much work my roommate had done, and this is the way she was treated. Okay, so now the reason I talked about this is I want to remind everyone. So this video is coming out of a university, and this isn't the only thing our universities are doing. So I have a daughter about to apply to college. She's going to go next year. And I know there are certain conservative schools that are on the expensive side. And I know that she will probably get something pretty close to a free ride scholarship if I send her to one of these horrendous institutions. It's a decision. And then there's part of me, even though I went through undergraduate, graduate, and a postdoctorate program, there's part of me that's like, you know what? My 13-year-old, I'm telling you right now, he educates himself on so many topics just by seeking out the good YouTube stuff. And I'm like wondering, you know, if universities are doing this and they're receiving, a lot of these grants are tax money, they're receiving all this money to put together things like this. I know I'm building it up, right? All right, you guys have to watch this.
Griffith University researchers creating a computer program that can be linked up to security cameras. It identifies human shapes, monitoring how close together they are. Privacy was paramount in this week-long trial, so no one was identified. People are represented as dots on a screen. Their IDs are not recorded. Green means social distancing is being adhered to. Red is a breach. So not only can businesses see when there are breaches, they can also identify spaces within venues where rule breaking takes place, where more signage or physical barriers are needed.
They can start looking at possibility of rearranging the areas or putting different furnitures and different things like that, so that it will be possible for them to manage the space a bit better.
Researchers say this technology could have real-world applications, not just at airports, but at shopping centres and other high-density public spaces. Griffith University.
All right, I hope that alarms you as much as it does me. So, you know, I had heard at some point that the whole 6 feet thing was something that was essentially, you know, someone just came up with 6 feet. I think it was like a high school or a junior high paper that someone put out, like why 6 feet? Why not 3 feet? Why not 8 feet? But anyway, fast forwarding, like Chandler Unified School District, their contingency plan or whatever they call it, if we have a variant outbreak or whatever, their new plan is 3 feet. You can't be closer than 3 feet from another person. So anyway, a social distancing tracker, I mean, really? How about this? How about I have personal responsibility for my immune system. I'm going to make sure that my vitamin D level is adequate. I'm going to make sure I supplement with C, zinc, a really good high quality multi, and I'm going to eat well, and I'm not going to drink a ton of alcohol, and I'm not going to smoke cigarettes. And I'm going to try to keep myself healthy because I'm going to take personal responsibility. And therefore, if I do that, this is the United States of America, folks. If I do that, a vaccine should not be forced on me, and I should not be forced to stay 3, 6, 12, 20 feet away from people. I am responsible for me. I will keep myself healthy. You, government, worry about the things you need to worry about. But I'm really serious. Our government being this involved in our health, I completely disagree with. Now, if you have a loved one who has died of COVID, my heart goes out to you. Chances are that either one of two things: that person's immune system was not top notch, aka underlying conditions, and or I'm telling you, I'm not, when they put people on respirators versus oxygen, okay, I'm not playing a doctor here, but a lot of people should have been put on oxygen, not the respirators. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we kill. I mean, if you look at Cuomo putting all the people together in the nursing homes, how many people did we kill? I mean, whether it was accidental or intentional, who knows? But we did not treat this right. Okay, and here's the other thing I'm going to say, because all of you are going to say, all right, Liz, well, you're healthy. You were born with good genes, blah, blah, blah. My autoimmune system, I got a score on having an autoimmune, and it's called the TPO. It was off the charts high. It's supposed to be between 0 and 60, and mine was almost 900. I had massive autoimmune system issues going on. And what did it mean? It means, even to this day, I need to clean up my diet. And once I cleaned up my diet, wow, that score fell by, it was 25% of what it used to be. I'm still not in normal range. I'm working on it. But my point is unfortunately, I do not believe our healthcare system today tells you things to keep you healthy. They tell you things to keep you on the pharmaceuticals. It's a huge industry. And I'm not saying all drugs are bad, but I will put myself out there and say, if you can find alternative ways, now I'm gonna have the pharmaceutical companies come after me, but if you can find ways not to get on these drugs where you have a lifelong dependency. I made a mistake and I agreed to take thyroid. I'm telling you right now, if they had corrected my diet in 2008, I would not have had to have gone on that thyroid. There's a lot of things that trigger an autoimmune response in my body. I happen to have the thyroid condition Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune related. Back then, it should have been a cleanup of diet, or you're stuck on this drug for your life. So anyways, so I think you get my point. Now they're doing this social distancing tracker. This is all being done by the universities. I used to have tremendous respect for the universities, as I was a lifelong student of the universities, but right now I'm not going back to a school. I'm going to teach the stuff to myself. It's not a lot of the stuff we need to learn for life and to be successful. You don't need to spend $100,000 on. And so I'm not saying don't send your kids to college or university. I'm just saying you really need to know where you're sending them and what they're spending your tuition dollars on. Is it on educating your kids, or do they filter into all these other areas? All right, on that note, may Arizona be the first domino to fall. Have a great day. And I know I went on a lot of long little sides, but I think it's necessary for someone to come out and call a spade a spade. Thank you. May Arizona be the first domino to fall. Have a great day, everyone. God bless you. God is in control, and I'll see you soon.